What is up, everybody, and welcome to FLW Videos. In today's episode, we will be performing another deep dive video, and in this case, we're going to be talking about the Pokemon known as Lucario. Now, Lucario has actually been out in the game for quite some time, but the reason why we are talking about this Pokemon now is because it got access to a new move known as Aura Sphere. Now, this move ended up being very impactful and actually shook up the rankings as far as fighting type Pokemon are concerned, so now a lot of people are very curious as to how good Lucario is going to be. From the raid side, from the PvP side, and by popular demand, also taking a look at it versus the Team Rocket team leaders to see if these Pokemon have any type of viability against that. So I know a lot of people have asked about that. Hopefully you do enjoy the new addition to it. Anyways, if you do enjoy this video and you do want to support this series, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. Lucario. With a max AP of 2,703, Lucario is a dual-type Pokemon as fighting as well as the steel typing. We will mostly be focusing on this Pokemon from the fighting type, and we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about why. The first thing that we can go ahead and take a look at is going to be the actual stats of the Pokemon. Now, upon first glance, you're going to notice that this Pokemon does not seem that impressive. I mean, check this out. We've got an overall ranking of 173rd, and then its best stat at least is going to be that attack stat at 236. To be honest, that is going to be what makes this really possible. When you take a look at the other rankings, such as that stamina, such as the defense, it's actually very low, but luckily for Lucario, that attack stat did translate over nicely into Pokemon Go. A lot of people are wondering, is Lucario going to be better than Machamp? We will, of course, talk about that at the end of the video. But anyways, let's go ahead and talk about this moveset. Now, one thing kind of going on, and it is important to address, is that this charge move pool is massive. I mean, you've got a total of 5 different moves that you could get, so it would be a nightmare to be able to get a specific move until the TM system ends up getting updated. Crossing my fingers, it will be done soon. But you're going to kind of run across a situation where close combat versus power-up punch versus the new move Aura Sphere. Now, I can go ahead and tell you, as far as the raid side, Aura Sphere is going to be the best move that you do want to go with, and ironically enough, power-up punch could end up being the better one from the PvP side, but we will talk about that a little bit later. So now that we have talked about that, let's go ahead and get into some of the raid results. So I thought the first thing we would do is pull up just a very classic tier 4 raid. We're going up against an Absol. So in this case, you're going to see that Lucario actually takes over the #1 spot in this case. And as far as that time to win is concerned, I mean, it's beating it by roughly 30 seconds. That is insane. And then when you take a look at it as far as the feints are concerned, it's pretty much getting the same amount of feints as Machamp, so Lucario is clearly going to be ahead of the pack as far as the raids are concerned. A couple of times Machamp may get a little closer, may feint a little bit less, but for the most part, Lucario is now considered to be the #1 fighting type Pokemon. And Game Press actually tweeted out something talking about like a visual for Machamp, where you can go ahead and pay your respects to it. I did decide to go ahead and leave something in there because Machamp is one of my favorite Pokemon from Generation 1 and has been such a great Pokemon throughout time. So we want to definitely give respect to Machamp. And then we've got Conkeldurr coming in at some point in time. I don't know if it will be able to take over Lucario. Who knows? Lucario could take this #1 spot, and then it could be ripped away very soon. So definitely make sure that you stay tuned for that. Once the Pokemon comes out, you can bet I will perform a deep dive on it. Anyways, let's go ahead and take a look at a future Pokemon for the raids, and that's going to be Kyurem. So versus Kyurem, I just want you to see how amazing Lucario is, especially when you start getting to like overall performance. It is in second only to a Metagross with Meteor Mash. Metagross Meteor Mash is a beast, so to just see Lucario in at this top 2 position is insane. The only downside, of course, is going to be the number of feints. It's a little bit up there, but then at the same time, you've got something like a Dialga that's getting 24 feints, and, you know, of course, that's going to be like with the dragon typing. So Lucario is still remaining at the top is basically the main point that I want to bring up, even when multiple typings are going to be super effective. So as a fighting type Pokemon, it is a monster, and definitely want to go ahead and point that out. Now, a lot of people have said to me that they want me to start including some of the Team Rocket related events in here. So we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about Executive Cliff. So versus Cliff, I did find out that we've got Lucario in like the top 9 position versus that Shadow Tyranitar. If you do want to use it, there's clearly going to be better options, but I wanted to go ahead and point it out that Lucario was actually in at the number 1 position. The only issue though, however, is that it does receive a feint for doing this, so you will need some shields in that case. But hey, Lucario does rank versus some of those team leaders, so I wanted to go ahead and point that out. Then finally, we can go ahead and head over to PvP. Now this is going to be kind of interesting because for PvP, as far as the Great League is concerned, that ended up being the best results for Lucario. But as far as the moveset is concerned, you have Close Combat and Power Up Punch. So you are not using Aura Sphere on the PvP side. You are using Close Combat, of course, and then like we saw with the Pokebattler results, you want to use Aura Sphere versus those Team Rocket Grunts. So then it's like a toss-up. What the heck do you do? I mean, honestly, I think Aura Sphere would be the better option to go with. That is going to kind of contradict what we have here, but at the end of the day, it's also going to be a situation where if you are doing PvP and you have Power Up Punch, it may be worth it to save yourself some TMs and not go over to Aura Sphere. So that's just going to be something that you are going to have to decide for yourself. But at least from the PvP side, this Pokemon is doing okay. Not the best, but who knows? Maybe in something like a Theme Cup, it could definitely improve as far as its ratings are concerned. So now we have to ask ourselves the question, is Lucario worth powering up in Pokemon Go? I do think it is worth it, but at the same time though, do you have access to it? Because Riolu is only available in 10-kilometer eggs, which means you're going to have to use a lot of incubators to be able to get enough candy to not only evolve the Pokemon, but also to be able to power it up. Versus Machamp, I mean, I already have a full-on army of this Pokemon. You can catch it in the wild, you can get them weather boosted. I haven't even invested a lot for this Pokemon, so it's going to be hard to kind of replace that just from like an overall standpoint. Lucario, yeah, I'd love to add you to the team, but it's unfortunately a little bit hard to get, and that's kind of where I'm at on that. I think it's worth it, just hard to get. Unlocking secondary charge move, I think yes for PvP, but maybe consider something like Shadow Ball instead so you can get a little bit of a spread. But I want to know what you think about Lucario in the comment section below. Do you actually have a Lucario? Do you plan to power it up? What if you're one of those people who doesn't have a Lucario? Are you going to stick with Machamp? Anything and everything, let me know in the comment section below, and I will see you next time. If you want to develop a deeper connection, I would highly recommend you to check out Patreon. We've got a lot of really cool things going on over there. Check out all of these supporters that we have. We are almost up to 100. We are also posting some special content, some behind the scenes work. And if that is the type of thing that interests you, I would highly recommend you to check it out.